to G-Niger TV News Headlines with your host, Dr. Chan. Subscribe to G-Niger TV News Headlines. Thank you.
How are you today? Welcome. This is the G-Niger TV News Headlines this morning. Your host, Dr. Champion. How was the night? Hope you slept well. This morning on Popular Demand, I'll be talking about hypertension, low blood pressure. Okay, we've gotten a lot of information that our audience would love us to look at this topic again. All right, in detail. What is low blood pressure? Low blood pressure is a reading below 90/60 millimeter mercury. All right, when your readings is below 90/60 mmHg, which is millimeter mercury. Many issues can cause low blood pressure. Treatment varies depending on what's causing the low blood pressure. Symptoms of low blood pressure include dizziness, fainting, and some people don't even have symptoms even though they have low blood pressure. Now, low blood pressure has many different causes. It can come up from emotional stress. It can be as a result of fear. It can be as a result of insecurity or even pain. The most common causes of fainting. All right, then of course we have dehydration, which reduces the volume of blood. Dehydration. The body's reaction to heat. Which is to shunt blood into the vessels of the skin, leading to dehydration. Okay, so it's important to take note of that. Okay, then foods you should avoid if you have low blood pressure. Roasted chestnuts is not very good for people with low blood pressure. Royal gel. These two foods reduce blood pressure. So people with low blood pressure should not eat these things. Then carrots. Carrots contain succinate salt that can cause potassium in the urine to increase. I take that again. Carrots contain succinate salts that can cause potassium in the urine to increase, blood pressure to decrease. So avoid eating a lot of carrots. Okay, so basically let's look at a few signs of low blood pressure, also known as hypotension. Like I said before, different symptoms can vary. We can have dizziness. If you're having frequent dizziness, you're having lightheadedness, you are feeling lightheaded. All right, these are symptoms of low blood pressure. You have fainting or passing out, what you call syncope, fainting or passing out. All right, then you have nausea feelings of vomiting, distorted or blood visions could be another symptom to look at. For fast and shallow breathing, fatigue or weakness, feeling tired, being sluggish or lethargic, confusion or trouble concentrating. These are some of the symptoms to look out for to know if you have low blood pressure. Okay, so how does it feel when your blood pressure is low? Basically, it means that your blood vessels don't adjust to a standing position and instead allow the blood pressure to drop, resulting in a feeling of lightheadedness. So it's important to know that when you have such feelings, you should watch out for low blood pressure, which is also known as hypotension. You know, a lot of people tend to know more about high blood pressure, and the awareness for low blood pressure is not as much as that of the high blood pressure. So that's one of the reasons why we're bringing these health tips to you. So if you feel confused or you notice fast, shallow breathing, a weak, rapid pulse in your heart, cold, clammy skin, you may be in shock, extreme hypotension is just knocking on the door. All right, so basically that's things to watch out for. It's important to get your blood pressure checked at least once a week. You know, Nigeria is tough for all of us currently. There's a lot of hardship in town, and of course a lot of people are going through a whole lot of stuff mentally, emotional stress and all of that. So it's important once a week, try and get your blood pressure checked. If you keep getting symptoms like lightheadedness, dizziness, feeling sick, blood visions, please check your blood pressure. Okay, then your blood pressure is quite low if you have 88/58. Okay, like we told you that the standard to look out for is 90/60. So if you have 88/58, that is pretty low. All right, so but so what we want to know, is it safe to go to sleep when that is low? Yes, you can still sleep. All right, you can still sleep. You know, what causes your blood pressure to drop varies from one thing to the other. Could be loss of blood, probably during accident, during injury, malnutrition, loss of blood, dehydration, and certain medications can cause low blood pressure. We have also antihypertensive drugs. A person's blood pressure may be lower than usual due to eating. Some people have a very unhealthy eating pattern. So please take note of that. Somebody said to me she doesn't like to eat because sometimes she just feels full. Even if you feel full and your stomach feels like there's food inside, if you have not intentionally put food in your mouth, you are still empty inside there. So it's important that you know that your body cannot survive or live without food. All right, so some of the things, a person's blood pressure may be lower due to, like I said, eating patterns, training, long periods of inactivity such as bed rest. See, some people may want to stay at home 20 hours on the bed, pressing their phones, not going anywhere. Some people stay at home back to back, Monday to Saturday, Monday to Friday, probably because they have an online business. They don't work, go to a regular white collar job, 8 to 5 job, 9 to 6 job. All right, so their businesses are online and they have what they call a sedimentary lifestyle. You should watch out for people like that. They are going through a lot of inactivity, so it could result into low blood pressure. Okay, so your blood pressure is, for a normal adult, your blood pressure is usually less than 100/80 millimeter mercury. All right, so a normal blood pressure is usually less than 120/80 millimeter mercury. Low blood pressure is a blood pressure that is lower than 90/60 millimeter per mercury. Okay, and as we round up this health segment, a few things you need to know. In case of an emergency, how do you raise your blood pressure? You could make a tight fist like you do when you're having blood drawn. If you are about standing up, cross your legs like you need to pee. All right, I'm talking about how to raise your blood pressure just in case an emergency of hypotension. Make a tight fist like you do when you're having your blood drawn, or if you're standing up, cross your legs like you need to pee. Now you squeeze all the muscles in your legs, abdomen and buttocks as hard as you can for as long as you can, or until you feel better. I hope you got that. I said once again, you make a tight fist like you do when they are trying to take your blood sample. Then if you are standing up, cross your legs like you need to pee. Then squeeze all the muscles in your legs, and your abdomen, and in your buttocks as hard as you can, as long as you can, until you feel better. With applying those forms of pressure, you could quickly increase the pressure on your blood. Okay, so as we round up, it's important to also know that research suggests that a lot of people having low blood pressure increases a person's risk of having a stroke. All right, so and of course dying from a stroke. Low blood pressure is less common than high blood pressure in people with stroke, but it is still potentially harmful. One could get into stroke from having low blood pressure symptoms. Very important, and very important to see your medical doctor. Go to the nearest hospital if you feel unwell. All right, you have table salt if you are trying to follow a low sodium diet. All right, so you can always have table salt. Certain condiments and sauces. You have foods with saturated fats and trans fats. You have fried food. These things can increase your blood pressure. Fried foods can increase your blood pressure. Fast food, so patronize fast foods, canned, frozen, and processed foods, daily meats and cured meats, salted snacks, and a whole lot. Okay, so basically these are the foods you can take that can increase your blood pressure. All right, and it turns out that sugar could be the biggest cause of high blood pressure for those that want to know that. All right, but you shouldn't get afraid. Much as sugar could be the biggest cause of high blood pressure, don't fear. Natural sugar in fruits and vegetables is fine. It is excess amounts of added sugars to watch out for, especially high fructose corn syrup. It is excess amounts of added sugars to watch out for, especially high fructose corn syrup. Okay, and last but not the least, it's important to know that you should have your first aid box at home It could help you. And don't forget to drink lots of water. All right, water therapy is one of the best therapy for living a healthy lifestyle. Fluids increase blood volume and help prevent dehydration, both of which are important in treating hypotension. All right, like I said, if you feel dizzy or lightheaded, sit down and lie down in a few minutes, or you can sit down and put your head between your knees. Okay, and that'll be all for the low blood pressure health tip. I hope you learned one or two things. And for the papers this morning, we know that we have very interesting news we need to talk about just before we let you go. Okay, from the Punch newspaper, we have an interesting headline: Abuja man protesting hardship on telecom mast taken into custody. Before now, I talked about mental health issues. A lot of people in Nigeria, probably will take that by tomorrow. A lot of people are going through mental torture, mental stress, emotional imbalance, hormonal imbalance, relationship crisis, economic hardship, a lot of things happening in Nigeria. All right, so let's have this news in detail. A man identified as Shuaibu Yushau, who climbed a mast to protest the subsisting hardship in the country on Monday, has been arrested by the operatives of the Federal Capital Territory Police Command at Kantape in Abuja. It was gathered on Monday that Yushau was handed over to the police after he was convinced by the emergency responders and concerned citizens to come down from the mast. According to a suicide note he dropped at the foot of the mast, Yushau demanded the return of the abrogated fuel subsidy regime, among others, for the government to alleviate the burdens on Nigerians. Confirming his arrest, the spokesperson for the FCT Police Command, Josephine Ade, disclosed in a statement obtained by a correspondent that Yusuf was stopped from committing suicide and he was convinced to come down from the mast and thereafter was arrested. Following a distress call from concerned citizens about a young man who climbed a very high mast with a placard at ASO Radio in Kantakwe at about 9:10 a.m., the operatives of the FCT Police Command swiftly mobilized to the location. With much professional persuasion from the police operatives, the man later identified as Shuaibu Yushau was prevented from taking his own life. He claimed to have been observing the mast for about a week before deciding to climb it. The suspect is presently in police custody and a stable condition. The FCT Fire Service spokesperson Ibrahim Tawheed, in a telephone interview with our correspondent, also stated that after several hours of appeals from emergency respondents, Yusuf came down from the mast and was arrested by the police. The FCT Fire Service, in conjunction with the FCT Emergency Service, has finally convinced the man attempting suicide to come down. He has come down from the mast finally and has been handed over to the police. FCT Fire Service is a fire and rescue organization. Our job is to make sure that if anyone is threatening to take their own life, we'll go and rescue the person. Although cases like this are rare, they keep happening. And if they keep happening, we're always on standby to rescue anyone whose life is on the line. Is part of our job. It was gathered the suicide note Yusuf dropped at the foot of the mast read, "These are the major Nigerian problems and I'm ready to sacrifice my life for the solution to them. I'm calling fellow Nigerians to join me in this riot. On behalf of fellow Nigerians, I demand the following. Government should return fuel subsidy. Government should declare a state of emergency in Zamfara, Sokoto, Kebbi, Katsina, Kaduna, Niger, and Borno states on insecurity matters and take immediate action to clear terrorism in the above listed states and the country at large. The government should open borders for food importation to eradicate food shortages in the country. Government should immediately respond to the problem of out-of-school children, which is increasing rapidly." Yusuf further stated in another note that economic hardship and the level of insecurity in the country had lasted for long, and there seemed to be no visible solution. It's long enough for the government to stand by and do nothing while Boko Haram bandits and kidnappers are killing people in the country every day. Long enough for citizens to continue suffering from hunger. Long enough for the inflation rate to continue to rise rapidly. Long enough for the number of out-of-school children to continue increasing. Long enough for me to keep quiet. Justice for masses. Well, this is what I can be seen in the Punch newspaper, and as a matter of note, please don't take your own life. Very, very important. And away from there, we have something from the Vanguard newspaper, which says 10 quick facts about the controversial Samoa Agreement. The Samoa Agreement has become a subject of controversy in Nigeria amid claims that the agreement signed by the federal government contains clauses that mandate lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender transgender LGBTQ rights. Recall that the European Union and member states came together to sign a partnership agreement, which was referred to as the Samoa Agreement on 15 November 2023. The member states signed the agreement, which seeks to address global challenges, are called the Organization of African, Caribbean, and Pacific States, also known as OACPS. Here are some quick facts about the Samoa Agreement. It's a partnership agreement and a vital legal framework for cooperation between the EU and its member states on the one hand and members of OACPS on the other. The multilateral agreement is colloquially called the Samoa Agreement because its signing took place on the island of Samoa in Oceania during the 46th session of the ACP-EU Council of Ministers. The agreement signed by Nigeria and other members of the association is based on 6 key priorities to tackle the main challenges in the member countries over the next 2 decades. The Nigerian ambassador to the Kingdom of Belgium, Grand Duchy of Luxembourg, and the European Union, Obina Onowu, signed the agreement on behalf of the Nigerian government at the Secretariat in Brussels on 28 June 2024. The priorities include human rights, democracy and governance, peace and security, human and social development, inclusive, sustainable economic growth and development, environmental sustainability and climate change, and mobility migration. An important principle of the agreement is that the parties shall make decisions and undertake actions at the most appropriate domestic, region, and multi-country at all levels. It's also important to know that the regional decisions and undertake actions at the most appropriate domestic, regional, or multi-country level. 7. No lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer clause in the agreement. 8. The EU and all its member states signed the agreement on November 15, 2023. Out of the 79 members of OACPS, 74, including Nigeria, signed before the deadline of June 30th, 2024. Details of that can be seen on the Vanguard newspaper. Please get yourself a copy. And as we round up, the Guardian newspaper has something very, very trendy. Federal government approved a 150-day duty-free window for import of select food items. The federal government has approved a 150-day duty-free window to allow the importation of maize, husked brown rice, and wheat as part of measures to combat food inflation in the country. This was as Arewa Economic Forum called for establishment of safe enclaves for cattle rearing in the northern part of the country to address the menace of insecurity bedeviling the region. Nigeria is battling severe food inflation, which is almost about 50%, with prices of staple foods such as rice, wheat, maize, beans, and other rising as much as 200% in the last 1 year. Minister of Agriculture and Food Security, Abubakar Kyari, disclosed the approval yesterday as part of the implementation of the Presidential Accelerated and Stabilization Advancement Plan report. With this initiative, food security is expected to improve in the next 180 days through the granting of the waiver for the above-named food items. The federal government will also import 250,000 metric tons of wheat and maize to fill the depleted strategic grain reserve. The report added that the federal government will engage stakeholders to get a guaranteed minimum price (GNP) for commodities ramp-up production among smallholder farmers in this year's farming season and promote the production of fortified food commodities amongst other steps. Details of that can be seen in the Guardian newspaper. If you're interested in that story, please get yourself a copy. And finally, on the Punch newspaper, the fuel crisis, fuel stations to operate longer hours to aid PMS supply, NNPC. The Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited says fuel stations are to operate longer hours for the supply and distribution of petrol, calling on fuel stations to aid availability given the current tight situation. The company said the turnaround period of Premium Motor Spirit trucking is also elongated to ease the situation being witnessed. The Executive Vice President Downstream NNPC Limited, Dapo Segun, said this on Monday in Abuja during the joint inspection of stations by the firm and the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority officials. The news agency of Nigeria reports that the NNPC and the NMDPRA embarked on a joint monitoring of the supply and distribution of fuel stations in the Federal Capital Territory and across the country to ensure that the long queues disappear. NNPC had said that the fuel queues in the FCT and parts of the country were a result of disruption of ship-to-ship transfer of fuel between motor vehicles and daughter vehicles resulting from recent thunderstorms. It said adverse weather conditions, including rainstorms and lightning, had also affected berthing at jetties, truck loadouts, and transportation of products to filling stations, disrupting station supply logistics. Speaking during the inspection, Segun said that there was a gap in the ship-to-shore discharge of PMS, which he described as a volatile liquid, adding that during the thunderstorm, it could not be discharged, rather it had to suspend ship-to-shore movement. This also affected the loading of trucks at the depot because of safety reasons. So we have to suspend all that during thunderstorms, and that's why you see this tightness. But we have a challenge about the bad portion of motorways which deteriorated due to rains and flooding across the country. We'll ensure that we are loading out all through the weekend and that we are mobilizing trucks. We are getting fuel stations to run for longer hours, and we're getting marketers to collaborate and share stocks rather than have a station with more trucks. They can release those trucks to other stations for circulation, he said. And with that, we'll call it a wrap for us here at the G-Nigeria TV News Desk. Please, it's important to always check your blood pressure. Don't die suddenly. Stay safe, stay fit. We love you. Dr. Champion is my name. See you some other time. Bye.